Hello my astrology friends and welcome to your March 2026 astrological forecast. In this video I'll be taking a look at the planets and the zodiac signs that are going to be affected and what to expect out of March. It's a really big month actually for a lot of us, so I'll be looking at the 12 individual sun signs and rising signs. Before I start, really important to like the video, really important to subscribe to the channel. It all helps to spread the word of astrology. Okay, let's get started. Big month March for us, and I feel like I'm saying that every month when I'm doing these astrological forecasts, because the planets aren't resting, they're busy and they're getting busier. And one of the main things is we're in eclipse season, and we've got a total lunar eclipse on the 3rd of March. That's going to be at 12 degrees in Virgo, UK time around about 11:38 in the morning. That we got the full moon, and about 11:34 is the total solar eclipse, just before the full moon. Very, very powerful. Just looking at that, it's a bit of a kind of it's a strange one. The moon is not that comfortable in Virgo. Lunar eclipses tend to be endings, and that's what they kind of bring about. This does make a slightly very wide conjunction, not enough to Mars, that's also in Pisces at this time. It just sort of enters into Pisces at that particular day or the day before, but it is a wide conjunction that's sort of taking place. You know, so but there is a nice semi-sextile to Jupiter, and Jupiter is also going to go direct around about the 10th of March, so it actually goes direct on the 11th of March, Jupiter. So we've got some interesting things like this lunar eclipse is a lot about health matters and how we deal with our health, and old regimes and new regimes coming in to do with health matters, and it might be on a sort of collective basis how we deal with health matters, or you know, the health of nations, or politics to do with health systems certainly being prominent and used at that particular time. But it does sort of kick-start the month, and you know, a lunar eclipse can feel a little bit sort of unbalanced. We had the total lunar eclipse on the 17th of February, and now we've got the lunar eclipse. And you know, what's interesting is there's no relationship between these two zodiac signs, the Aquarius and the Virgo. They're in quincunx to each other, or they're in aversion to each other. They don't really talk to each other, so there's not a relationship necessarily between the two planets that's taking place here. So it might feel a bit like we're all unprepared. But the other major news, of course, is we've got a Mercury retrograde. And guess where that Mercury retrograde is? Yes, it's in Pisces. We're in Pisces season, you know, we're at the kind of the end of the astrological wheel. But a Mercury in Pisces, I have to say, is very, very tricky. It went backwards in the sky around about the 26th of February, and will remain there till about the 19th, 20th of March. It is in Pisces. It is going to oppose this lunar eclipse on the 3rd. Bit wide, but it's enough for it to make a contribution. And this adds to confusion. And this adds to self-sacrifice and surrendering to something that's bigger than all of us. It's a significant Mercury retrograde because Mercury is not comfortable in the sign of Pisces. It cannot function. And already many of my clients, and I'm filming this in the last week of February, are saying to me, a lot of things are breaking, a lot of technical glitches are happening. You know, and this is the sort of what we call the shadow period coming up of this particular Mercury retrograde. It's a nasty one. If you're in a Mercury profected year, just be careful, tread carefully in terms of making decisions at the moment. Mercury cannot function. It blurs lines. It adds confusion. It's nebulous. It's things to do with travel, you know, short distance travel as well as long distance travel. It causes a huge amount of sort of smoke and mirrors and a sense that everything is a bit confusing. And it may be that we go back into situations that happened in early November of last year that come back in. But it means that communication in general can be misunderstood. People can be offended easily. People can be far too sensitive during this particular period. So we have to be very aware of this kind of energy that we've got going around us as well. Venus in the first 5 or 6 days is in Pisces, very, very nice, exalted. And then around about the 5th, 6th, it moves into Aries. Well, that for me is like, Venus is not comfortable in Aries, and where angels fear to tread, Venus will go, and that's within relationships in general here. Mars is also in Pisces as well. That goes in around about just before it goes on the 2nd of March, and that's going to be there for the rest of the month. Again, Mars in Pisces. We're going into this very, very nebulous energy of endings, of confusion, of misunderstandings. Mars is an assertive planet. It's slightly watered down in Pisces. It cannot function as well. It can't do much. And you put in all of this kind of Piscean energy into it. You can see that it's a month where we're walking a bit blind, all of us. Where are we going? Which direction are we going? It's that kind of energy that's taking place. On the positive note, we have a Jupiter around about the 10th, 11th, that will go direct. That's been a retrograde for the last few months, specifically since November. And that's in Cancer, and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and it's happy. It can do stuff. So that to me is a really kind of positive things and getting things moving. Saturn is really well traveling in Aries. We've got the dance of Uranus right at the end of Taurus, 27 degrees. It's sort of making that conjunction with a fixed star of Algol. It has been doing for some while, which is kind of everyone losing their heads kind of symbolically, at the moment. It's at 28 degrees right at the end of March, before April's the big one, because it will move into Gemini, where it stays for a 7-year period. We've also got Neptune at the beginning of Aries. That's made that conjunction, of course, that we've been experiencing in Aries at the 0 degree mark here. So Saturn is at 2 degrees. And moving quite quickly, so it's sort of separating away from Neptune, so that should clear up a lot of this kind of political unrest that's been going on. And then we've got Pluto in Aquarius moving forward 4 degrees, and ends at 5 degrees as well. So there's a lot kind of taking place. We do also we're experiencing of course a new moon that's going to be taking place. And that's going to be at Pisces, right at the end of Pisces, 28 degrees. That's on the 19th of March. Then on the 20th, we have the spring equinox around about 4:30 UK time in the afternoon. So that's always an interesting time, because that's the end of the astrological wheel, and then the beginning. And that can bring out quite a lot of positive change and reaction, and we go to the Aries season. So, spring equinox is always very, very powerful. It's like the start of the new year. So in all, it's going to be a very, very kind of a month where you're going to have to kind of rely on your intuition, rely on your instincts, but not get too confused. Be aware that things are a little bit confusing for a lot of people, and that's going to be the kind of the theme that's going to play out a lot during this particular month. And it's a sense of we are going from one chapter to another, and there is a process of letting go, and there is a process of kind of trusting in where you're going on an individual level. And as from a collective point of view, I think it will just feel like there's a lot of people saying a lot of stuff that's not really actually hitting home and not really doing anything, and nothing's really kind of changing. There is in the background a lot of change, but it takes time for that to kind of materialize and manifest. Okay, let's go into the astrological sun signs. So this is going to be for sun signs and rising signs. So if you know your rising sign, listen to that, watch that, and if you know your sun sign, which most of you will do, then listen to that. So you could be listening to 2 signs, but this next section is for Aries sun or Aries rising. Okay, Mars is the planet that we're looking at round about the 2nd Mars will go into Pisces, and that's going to be circulating in your 12th house, 12th solar house, which is the house of the unconscious, or modern astrology says the house of self-undoing. More than anything, it's about really kind of what's going on behind the scenes, the sort of internal process, what's going on in your dreams, what's starting to annoy you, what needs to be looked at, what are the signs and symbols that the universe is trying to tell you. Aries have got a lot going on. They've got, of course, they've got the Neptune and Saturn traveling in their own sign. They've now solidified themselves into that, and so there is a kind of a sense of I want to bring structure, I want to bring discipline, but I also want to pack my bags and go somewhere exotic. That's how Aries are sort of thinking. They're changing on a kind of on a weekly basis, this kind of thinking. The priority at the moment really should be trying to blend those two attitudes together to make things work for you. But that's going to be kind of tough. Venus does enter the sign, your own sign, in this month. That's around about the 6th of March. I would say that Venus can be slightly indulgent in Aries and slightly impulsive and a little bit sort of quick to judge, but also quick to value oneself and one's contribution to the world and what we put out there. But it's certainly you may judge social situations in a way that perhaps is a little bit off center, and so you've got to be careful of that you don't get the projection from other people going, well, you shouldn't have said it that way and you shouldn't have done that. They're probably right, but so it is a bit sort of think before you speak during March for you Aries. Okay, next is for the sun sign in Taurus or Taurus rising. I'm just going to go back to your ruler, Venus, what I've just explained, because Venus goes into your 12th house, which actually is very happy. It's quite a romantic combination from the 6th of March. It works, well. It's quite artistic. It allows you to kind of retreat into your own self and not be disturbed by that, for yourself. You've still got the Uranus factor, but as I said, that's more for you late degree Taurians who were sort of born around that sort of 18th, 19th of May, maybe 20th of May. Everything's topsy-turvy at the moment for you. The other thing is, of course, you've got Saturn and Neptune in the 12th house. So there is a sort of spiritual essence that's starting to become a greater relationship with the unseen that's starting to develop, and a questioning and a kind of, well, I'll look at this and see what I can get from this. And, you're being a bit more internal and being a bit more subjective with yourself. It's actually quite bringing out some quite good qualities in you here. Mars is going to be circulating in your 11th solar house. That's the house of friendships and groups. So you might be quite busy on the social level or connecting with new people. It's a little bit of a calmer aspect for you. The dates between the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, they're the tricky periods because your ruler Venus is making a conjunction to Neptune and Saturn, and you could lose yourself a little bit in those kind of dates, and get a bit kind of carried away is what I would say. So just be aware of that. Okay, Gemini, sun sign, Gemini rising, Mercury, ruler, retrograde in Pisces. Work matters. If you're a Gemini sun or Gemini rising, you're having to deal with work matters, but things are not going your way. You have to be patient during this month. You have to take a step back and not get kind of too impulsive and too kind of got to push this forward. Things are taking a step back for you during this particular period, and it's all going to get confusing because it's the polarity between the home life and the work life. Look out for the 17th. You've got the new moon in Pisces. That's hitting your 10th house, your 10th solar house. That's quite good because from then on, things start to go your way, particularly in working matters in your career. Before that, it's a little bit like, cross your fingers and hope. Geminis like to keep busy. They don't like things that stop or things that come to a natural kind of stagnation point. So that's when they get bored, and that's when they go off and kind of create some other drama, so that they don't have to sort of be still. You're going to have to be still during this month in order for it to work. And if you do that, it will work really, really well for you. Past the 17th, things start to move forward for you. Look out right at the beginning of the month, family matters, home matters, because of that lunar eclipse on the 3rd. That's really kind of hitting your 4th house, which is the house of the ancestors, where you're coming from and stuff like that. Okay, Cancer, Sun, Cancer rising. Big news about 11th, Jupiter goes forward in your own side. That should get things kind of moving at a considerable pace for you. If you've been waiting on things to happen, waiting for expansion, waiting for travel arrangements, waiting for a house move, waiting for a promotion, things might start actually happening for you at this particular period. We've got the lunar eclipse that's taking place. It's all about communication for you on the 3rd and around that time of the lunar eclipse, and how you communicate effectively with other people, and needing to realize that what you say does have weight behind it and it has meaning, and people interpret it that way. And if you not communicate effectively, then that's where the difficulty is. I also would say with you, Cancerians, you know, work matters are becoming much more responsible for you. There is a step up. There is a need for you to accept that you're making a step up, and that will help you an awful lot. Okay, let's go to Leo Sun, Leo Rising. Okay. Now, when I talked about Leos, I often talk about sort of Pluto and stuff like that. But, you know, I'm going to be talking about Pluto for the next 20 years, because that's how long Pluto is going to be transiting through Aquarius. So, you know, your opposite side. I think with Leos, they're in the waiting room, and that's what they feel. They're waiting for Jupiter to arrive right at the end of June in their own sign, when things kind of become really just delightfully interesting. But until that particular point, they're sort of just waiting and waiting. And, you know, there's a few things that are going on that, you know, are challenging. You know, work matters is coming to the tail end of the Uranus traveling through your 10th house. You're in the last couple of months now. And this is the last full month, by the way. And so if it feels like with work that things are just a bit sort of erratic again, and they feel like, oh God, I've been here before, then don't worry. This is the last dance of Uranus through your 10th house, and will kind of make you kind of feel a little bit like it's never gonna settle. It will do for you. And like I said, you've got Jupiter to look forward to. You've got Uranus moving out that house and going into your 11th house, which is, you know, modern astrology, that's its rulership. That's debatable, but I'm not going to go into that. But like, I feel like for a lot of you, it'll feel like you've sort of gone back a year. You know, that's what March will be like. I don't think you Leos really deal well with the sort of the nebulous Pisces energy too much. I think it kind of affects you, and it's all happening in the 8th house. The 8th house is kind of the house of, you know, the sort of therapy zone, and the house that kind of where things are kept hidden and stuff like that. So it's not like something you can do anything about. It's not like you go, well, there's the problem, I'm going to fix it. You can't. There's no way you can do that. So you're in this kind of sort of passive role, which Leos don't really like, you know. But this is just for this month. April comes along and it all changes. All that Aries energy brings the best out of you. So hang on in there. Okay, where are we? Virgo rising, Virgo sun, Virgo rising, Mercury retrograde in your opposite sign, in your 7th house, all about relationships, all about dealing with other people and other people's issues and how they view you and all of that. It's a confusing month. There's a lot going on. Stand steady. You know, don't allow others to drag you into their problems too much during this stage. You might have a natural need to go there and kind of be at service to others, as Virgo's tendency to, but try not to do that, because all that ends up with you is a kind of a little bit of a kind of a sense of, well, this is really not going particularly well, is it? And then you overanalyze and then you blame yourself. I can't sit here and go it's the easiest month, but I can say it's a month where you learn a lot about other people and who your friends are and who's connected to you and stuff like that. So in that sense, it's quite good. However, let's go to that total lunar eclipse on the 3rd. It's in your own sign. It's in the middle of your own sign. So the early part of March is a little bit on the confusing side, and it's to do with endings and the end of a kind of an internal process. It'd be going on for 19 years. There we go. Also on the 17th, you have a new moon in your opposing sign of Pisces, 28 degrees. So again, you know, there's a lot going on for Virgos. It's one of those months where a lot can happen on the internal rather than the external. You still think, come out of it going, oh God, that was a really busy month. But it might, to other people on the outside, it might not seem that, but it has been a really busy month for you. And there's a lot of kind of feeling of endings and new beginnings coming. The new beginnings haven't come quite yet, but they will do. Okay, Libra Sun, Libra Rising. Okay, your ruler Venus from around about the 6th, 7th is in your opposing sign of Aries. First of all, it joins up with Saturn and Neptune. This is all about trying to find diplomacy with other people, trying to find a way to deal with other people. Venus always likes to bring harmony and diplomacy. Aries likes to, you know, have a little bit of a kind of tension. So the two don't necessarily go together, and it's trying to find the balance between that. And I think that for you, there is an energy of trying to work with others and trying to cooperate with others. That's what will come out. You're going to have to be forced to. You might actually want to be much more independent and not deal with other people, but actually what it says is that you're going to be dealing with other people, and that's what's going to be happening. So you've got to do that. I think if you can get that balance right, then this can be a really kind of positive month for you. But if you don't, then it's going to cause you lots of problems. It's about being conscious of what you're projecting outward, and that's very much about the lunar eclipse on the 3rd, because it hits your 12th house. So it's understanding your own subconscious and what you're putting out to the world. And if you kind of are not conscious of that, then it's gonna, you know, it's gonna get messy. And I think you will know that. And then the Venus tries to fix it and can't fix it, and then gets frustrated. So just be aware of what's going on inside you at that time. Okay, Scorpio Sun, Scorpio Rising. Right, Mars is in Pisces. Likes to be in Pisces, not a problem. It's in your 5th house, solar house. It's creative, it's expressive. It means you can sort of say your opinion and do what you want to do. But there's a lot of planets in that house that I think is meaning that you're wanted to play rather than work. And actually, because of the Saturn factor, because of Venus, they're all hitting the 6th house, which means that you're tied to work, or you've got responsibilities within your work environment, but you want to play. You're kind of like, I'm a bit bored of work at the moment. I just want to go out and do stuff outside interest. Thank you very much, but you can't. And it's kind of, that's where the friction is. And again, trying to get the balance between those two is going to be a little bit on the tricky side. There may be friendships that are just coming to an end, or a conclusion that you kind of feel during this time, and it's just to be kind of aware of that, because that's an important part of the lunar eclipse for you going forward. Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius Rising. Jupiter, your ruler, 11th, starts moving direct. Oh, you'll be all sigh a sigh of relief, because it means that you will feel that life is moving forward, that opportunities are coming towards you, that you can deal with stuff that's coming forward for you, that you can make decisions, that you can bring things forward, that you feel much more positive within yourselves. Yeah. However, the Mercury retrograde is traveling through your 4th solar house, which means that there's things and obligation to do with the home and the family. This is a little hangover from Saturn going over the last 2.5 years in the home environment, and you get the you get this kind of energy of you know, lots of planets in Pisces hitting your 4th house. So you'll feel like, I thought I was coming to the end of that cycle with home obligations, and this month sort of hits it. It's just this month. It will move by the time we get into April. You know, particularly I have to say that period of the new moon around the 17th, on the 17th, I should say, the lunar eclipse interestingly hits the career part of you. So there might be some endings to career or past career, but it's all about Jupiter. And if you've been feeling that you stagnated, suddenly things begin to move forward. Okay, Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Rising. Saturn is now in your 4th house, as is Neptune. That's all about family, the home, the property, the ancestors, the hidden part of your personality. You're working internally on what you want. You've got responsibility, obligations in the home environment. It will make you feel very grounded, a lot of it, but it'll also make you feel a little bit kind of like, I'm working all the time and not getting any joy. But let's be honest, Capricorns love to work, so it's not really an issue there. But I feel like for a lot of you, you know, you'll kind of feel that groundness, but you'll also feel a little bit sort of frustrated that your personal life at the moment has been too quiet. But hey ho, Jupiter is going to go forward on the 11th in your 7th house. So if you've been thinking that, suddenly things are going to get moving in relationships, with other people, and people coming into your life and bringing new opportunities for you. Okay, Aquarius Sun, Aquarius Rising. Yeah, you're at the last stages of Uranus for a lot of you, your modern ruler, and your traditional ruler Saturn has got into the 3rd solar house, which is all about communication and everyday life, like, you know, traveling here, there, dealing with your emails, dealing with, you know, laptops, Macs, whatever. You know, it's how we communicate. You know, I think for a lot of Aquarians, it's going to feel like the practical aspects of life feels a little bit harder. Like if to try and get to A to B is feeling a little bit harder than it does, or did. That's because of the Saturn factor. Home life might be a little bit on the last unpredictable stages, but by late April next month, that Uranus is going to leave that 4th house and go to the 5th house, a much more playful house. So Aquarians are kind of in this sort of zone of waiting for things to happen. But we do have a Mercury retrograde in your 2nd house, and that's to do with your finances. So finance might take a bit of a hit, or certainly review. A lot of planets in your 2nd house, so it's all about a bit of a financial month for you and putting things in place moving forward here for yourself. The lunar eclipse really hits your 8th house, which is the house of kind of the hidden, other people's finance. And it might be that, you know, if you've got a partner, your partner's finance might be in a little bit of difficulty at that time, or come up to the surface, or you have to deal with that. Or it could mean that you starting off a new kind of therapeutic journey within yourself. Okay, Pisces Sun, Pisces Rising. Your traditional ruler, Jupiter for the 11th, goes direct. That's good. It means that things can kind of move forward. You're out of Neptune's clutches and also Saturn's clutches, but we do have a Mercury retrograde to contend with for most of this month, up until about the 20th, 21st, right near the spring equinox. What I would say here is that there's a little bit of toing and froing and going backwards and forwards, and for a lot of Pisces, there's a lot of energy. You got Mars in Pisces, so it's kind of like, if you're making decisions, be absolutely sure about them. You might be going back to something you've made before, or trying to move things forward, or just more sensitive to your environment, much more, and getting confused with the signals of what people are trying to say to you. Try not to take things personally in March. It's just that the sensitivity is really up there. It is the beginning of the end of the astrological wheel, so it will feel a little bit like endings. It's not. You've got the beginning coming up. Once we get past the spring equinox on the 20th, things will start getting easier for you, because the sun goes into Aries, and just it feels like a new start. And Pisces are extremely sensitive to these shifts with the planets and the zodiac signs. So for me, it's important that you try not to take things personally during March time. Okay, that's it. Listen, guys, thank you very much for watching. Lolem, amen, and keep watching for more videos, and thank you very much. Do subscribe and do like the video, all helps. Thank you.